Alright, so today I'm going to show you how to upgrade the hard drive to an SSD and why Apple is, I'll bite my tongue, but they're an a-hole. Okay, so you'll see on this, they removed the ability to change the RAM on this model and they soldered it to the board. So this is a iMac 21.5 inch A1418 late 2015 model. Other models, they do let you change the RAM, so check to make sure. Be very sure you get the right year, because this one specifically, for some reason, they decided, let's solder on the RAM. Nobody needs to upgrade the RAM. So first, what you want is get a tool like this, something thin, something flat. It doesn't have to be metal, but they do sell like tools with like little rolly wheels. But basically what you want to do is you get between the glass and the metal, the aluminum housing, and you just insert the tool in and then slide it across. You'll feel it cut the adhesive. Don't insert the tool too far. If you do on the sides, you'll actually feel that you're hitting the screen, but you don't want to put too much pressure. But basically you just go all the way along the tops and the sides. Avoid the center because there's no adhesive there, but there is the camera. So as you can see, I already cut it, but here you can see there's the camera there, but there's no adhesive. So once you cut all the adhesive, you can pull the screen away. If the screen doesn't come completely out and you can just pull it a little, then just keep going along with the tool and cutting the adhesive. Okay, so once you get all the adhesive out, you can open it slightly, just like this. Be careful because the two cables are connected to the screen. So once you get in, this cable is like a pinch connector that on the sides you have to squeeze it to release it. So usually with this, I don't cut the bottom adhesive, and then I either use a box in the front to lay the whole screen down on, or I just lay it on my lap like this. So pull the screen forward slightly, okay, and then I don't know if I'll be able to show this without my hand getting in the way, but pretty much if you can't reach your whole hand in to pinch it, you can kind of try and do like one side first. So just like this. As you can see, the connector's moving. Once you do that, you can kind of get in with your hand. Usually I'll switch hands if I can't reach, but I'm trying to record it, so I can't do that. So here you go, just like that. And then on the other cable, there's this little plastic tab here. So you need to pull that, and it's connected to a metal bar. So once you pull that, as you can see, this metal bar swings out, and then you can kind of just wiggle this connector out just like that. Okay, to put it back, you just make sure it's completely flat, slide it back in, and then latch it over. It's a lot harder to put these parts back than taking it out, so just make sure that if you're going to do this, that you will be able to put in the time and effort to get it back together. So usually, to be safe, I would hold the power button just to drain any power. Make sure it's unplugged from the wall, of course. Okay, so I'm going to show how to change the hard drive or the SSD. It's not too bad of a job, but they could make it a lot easier. So first, what you want to do is take a T8 screwdriver, Torx 8-bit, okay, and then you just remove these 4 screws. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do this with one hand, but we will see. So take that screw out. Okay, put it aside. Don't mix up the screws because they're all different sizes and shapes and lengths. So you want to get all the same screws back to where you took them out from. Okay, so take these 4 screws out. You'll also need to take out the screws from the speaker next to it so that you can line it back up. Okay, so I'm going to take that out. Then you can take out this plastic piece just like this. Okay. Alright, remove the other bracket. Same thing, just take out the screws. Sorry, there's no easy way to kind of get a close-up view of this and have it mounted so that my hands are free. So I have to try and do this all with one hand. But hopefully if I can do this with one hand, you'll be able to do it with 2. So here we go, just like that. Alright. Set that bracket aside as well. Alright. I'm going to try and show on most models, the RAM for this model iMac, the RAM is right behind here. So a lot of times what you can do is just take some of the screws out and then pull the board forward a little, and then you can replace it. And some models, they actually put a metal cage over it, so you can't do that. But yeah, I'll continue showing. So here's the hard drive. You got the SATA connector here. It's connected with a wire, actually. It's not like a solid piece. So what I do is I use my fingernail or a pry tool right between the connector to the SATA drive and this and pull it back. So this is easy to take out, but to put it back, it's kind of a pain. So to put it back, what you want to do is take these two screws out from the speaker. Okay, so that one, you don't have to like completely remove it, but you can, just in case it does, so it doesn't fall out or anything. But yeah, so remove the screws, and then once you do that, you can pull the speaker forward and then move it to the side a little bit. Once you do that, to put it back, you can use your hand and kind of like grab the sides of this and then try and pull it back in. So that's the easiest way I found to kind of get this connector back. I can't do it with one hand, but basically you would grab the two sides of the connector like this and then try and pull it back. Okay, so the reassembly I'm not going to do while on camera, but yeah. So then to take the hard drive out, it's pretty simple. Once you get all that stuff out, you just remove it like that. These rubber pieces, they just have a double stick adhesive. You can peel it off and reattach it to your new hard drive or SSD. So that's how you would change the hard drive out. All right, and while you work on this stuff, make sure you're grounded. I'm sitting on the ground with like with nothing in between, so that kind of like just drains all the electricity, so I don't have any issues. Okay, so then you got the two others. Oh, I didn't put those screw back, but these are held in by two a T5 screws, one here and one here. So the left little metal bracket is on top on both sides. I don't know if that matters, but I try and put everything back the same way. So as far as removing this, if you have the same exact model, you're not going to be able to change the RAM. But if yours is a different year, then yeah, you'll basically be doing these same steps. Okay, so once you remove those screws, you'll go as close as you can to the bottom of the tail and then kind of just pull it out like this. Okay. And that's how you remove the antennas. And to put it back, you basically just line it back up and then push it down. Make sure it's completely aligned before you push it down or you can damage it. Okay, so same thing with all the other four antennas. Just go as close to the bottom as you can and pull it so it goes at an angle like that, and then it should release. Okay, so once I get these out, I'm gonna like kind of move them out of the way. All right, so that's how you get that out. All right. Then you got to remove a whole bunch of screws to get the rest out. So disconnect this I believe is the eyesight or the webcam cable. Just flip that little metal latch out like the monitor, the screen, and then wiggle it out. Okay, put that underneath so you don't get it caught on anything. Then you got this connector for the fan. Okay, remove that one. And then to remove the fan, there's 3 screws holding it in place. So there's one up here. All right. At least all the screws use, for the most part, the T8 bit. You don't have to switch back and forth too often, except for the wireless card. But yeah, so then there's another screw here holding the fan in place. And then there's one more screw holding this fan in place. So we get those 3, and then there's one more here. Oops, sorry, here underneath the cable for the eyesight camera. Okay, so remove that one as well. All right, that's out. Yep. Okay, and then once you get all 3 screws out and you've disconnected this cable, then you can grab the fan and you can actually pull it out and set it aside. Okay. All right, then you can see here, I'm not sure. Okay, this is a speaker cable. So this is the left speaker connector. Okay, so remove that. All right. This connector down here on the power supply, again, make sure you hold the power button down to drain any power, because this thing can shock you really badly if you touch it and it still has a lot of power. So this is the power button connector. So make sure you put that back. And usually when I reassemble everything, I don't put the replacement adhesive until after I test it. I'll put like regular tape just wrapped over the front to the back to hold the screen in place so it doesn't fall out. And then once I test it, then I'll do all the adhesive. To make it easier, so this adhesive, you basically you have to peel all this stuff off. So don't leave this on there. The replacement adhesive, you can get them like on Amazon and places like that. Sorry, I'm not watching what I'm recording. But basically you peel up a little bit of it just like that, and then you can peel the whole adhesive off slowly. So you just do that with all the strips and remove all the adhesive from both the frame and also the screen itself. When you remove it from the screen, be careful because the I don't know if you can see it, it's not focusing well, but there's this black layer that's plastic that's also part of the screen. You don't want to peel that up. You just want to peel the adhesive part out. Okay, so I'm not going to show that whole thing on camera because you have to kind of peel all of them and it's kind of a pain. So, okay, back to taking everything out. So you got all those connectors out. Then you got to remove this bracket for the hard drive. And to remove that bracket, you have to actually also undo the power supply screws. So there's 2 screws holding the power supply in at the bottom here. So remove those 2. Okay, just like that. Okay, remove that one. Remove this one. Be careful with the cables back here. You don't want to damage them. Okay, so remove that screw. And it's a lot harder doing it with one hand, but kind of want to show you what's going on. Okay, so remove the other screw here. For this, you're going to want to make sure your screwdriver is kind of magnetic. If you don't have a magnetic screwdriver and you have kind of a strong magnet, just rub the magnet on the screwdriver in one direction and that'll magnetize it. Okay, so once you remove the 2 power supply screws, you want to remove this screw from the hard drive bracket. Okay, just like that. Oh, got stuck in there. Alright, so remove that. Okay, once you get all those screws out, you'll want to pull this forward. As you can see, there's a metal post that goes into the plastic piece. So on both sides, you'll have to pull it up. So you had to remove the screws for the power supply so you can actually move this out of the way. But once you do that, you should be able to pull this outwards and then kind of lift it up. Okay, once you do that, this is actually held in place with some little clips or something. So let me show you what it looks like, because you kind of have to twist this a certain way to get the bracket out. It's hard to do this with one hand. Okay, so get this piece out, and then you'll have to kind of like twist this around to get it to unhook. So here on the back, you can see it hooks on like that. So when you put it back, make sure to hook it back on. So basically this side goes down because that hook is right there, and then this side goes up. So you kind of like twist it onto this cable. Okay, so that's how you remove that. All right, now we gotta go into removing the whole logic board. So normally when the RAM is up here, you don't have to pull the whole logic board out. So if your goal is just to replace the RAM and not take it completely apart or take the whole computer out, then you don't have to. But you do have to remove all these pieces. So then you have to remove this cable here. This is, I guess, part of the power supply. I'm not sure why it needs 2 connections to the board. Maybe it helps power some smaller devices. Okay, so disconnect that. All right, then you got 4 screws holding this heatsink in place onto the back panel. So remove those 4 screws. Okay, so there's one up here. Okay. Sorry, it's so hard to see what I'm doing and move the screws in a order so I know where they go. Okay, so take that screw out. So here, as you can see, I'm laying out the screws kind of in a pattern so I know where they go. Okay, so once you remove those two, as you can see, there's a notch here in the board and a notch here in the board, so there's actually 2 screws behind those. So just do that screw. This is where you need the magnetic screwdriver. If it's not magnetic, then you're going to have a problem because your screws are just going to fall in there. Okay. Alright, so take that one out. Alright, and then one more down here. I don't know if you can see it. There you go. So there's the screw right there. So you gotta take that one out as well. Let's see, I don't even know if I'm recording it right now. I'm just using the phone as a flashlight. So, man, I can't see with this. Where'd it go? So there you go. Okay, there you can see it. Alright, so, I mean, you get the idea. I'm gonna remove that screw now. And I can't do it while it's in camera, so... Oh, I need a longer screwdriver because this one is too wide at that end. So let me attach this extender. So I use this thing to extend it because it's thinner. So then I can actually get the screwdriver in there. So do that. I can't even see. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, so get that screw out. Okay. Alright, there you go. Be careful when pulling the screw out because you don't want it to get caught on the board and then fall behind. If it falls behind, you're definitely going to have to take the whole board out. Okay, so we got all those screws holding this bracket in. So now we need to remove the motherboard screw or the logic board screws. So there's 4 screws holding this. There's one here. Alright, make sure not to mix these up again. Okay, I'm going to remove the extender because it makes it a little bit harder to use the screwdriver. Okay, so remove the one down here. Okay. And then you got 2 screws down here. You want to remove those. And before I forget to mention it, you want to also disconnect this connector here. Alright, just get your fingernail underneath and then pry it up just like that. And then also this connector for the speaker here, you want to remove that as well. So it's the same thing like the other one, you pinch it and then you can pull it down. Okay, just like that. Alright, so now we'll go back to removing all the screws. Okay, so take that screw out. Alright, and then take this screw out. Alright, just like that. I think that should be all of the screws. And then you got to remove 2 connectors from the bottom of the motherboard or the logic board. So once you get all the screws out, you should be able to actually pull this forward, as you can see. So if all you needed to do was replace the RAM and the RAM was in the spot where it should be, then you can actually reach it from here. You can actually pop the RAM sticks out with your fingers here. If there's the metal cage on it, you can actually pry the metal cage off from here as well. But as you can see, there's nothing there. It's completely flat. So I'm going to show how to remove the board further, or take the board a little bit further out. So there's 2 more connectors here. This is for the hard drive. So this is for the data, and then this is the hard drive power connector. So basically the power connector, the small one there, you just grab it and then you kind of just wiggle it. I don't think I can show this because my hand's in the way, but you just grab it and then you kind of just keep wiggling it. Grab as close to the connector as you can, and yeah, just keep wiggling. There you go. And then the SATA connector for the data, you have to squeeze this metal clip in, and then when you squeeze that clip in, you can pull the connector out. I'm going to have to do this with my right hand, I think. Okay, so here you go. Squeeze the little clip, and then you kind of just wiggle and pull it out. Okay, just like that. So once you do that, here you can see inside there's nothing there. There's supposed to be a RAM slot right here. Instead, as you can see down there, those little squares, that's the RAM. And further down, you can't really see it on camera that well because I can't get the angle. Oh, there you go. But there's nothing there. All you can see, there's all the ports, and that's pretty much it. So that's pretty much it on taking apart this iMac. Make sure you put all the connectors back. Some of them will fall underneath the board, so make sure you pull those back out before you put the board down. And one thing, when you put the logic board back in, make sure you slide this around and push it, because you want to make sure all the little ports on the back here, you want to make sure they all go back into the slot. If you don't, then your ports aren't going to work properly because they're not going to be seated right. But that's pretty much it as far as taking this thing apart. You can clean up the fan after you take it out, so just use some compressed air, or if you have an air blower, I use an air blower, you can use that. But that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video helped you. If it did, please like and subscribe, because that'll help me. And thank you for watching. One thing I forgot to mention, or I might have mentioned it, but when you get the adhesive strips, it has two sides to it, a clear side and a white side. But usually you'll peel the clear side off, and then you can attach the adhesive here. And you can leave that white piece on there so that when you close it, you can test the whole iMac. And once you confirm everything's working, you can peel the white side off and then just close the screen back on top of it. And once you close the screen on top, you'll want to put some tape over from this side all the way to the back. Stretch it if you can, as tight as you can, so it squeezes against the adhesive. And you want to leave it there for a day just to make sure it gets a solid adhesion. Okay, so once again, thanks for watching. Hopefully this video helped. If it did, please like and subscribe, because that'll help me. And thanks for watching. Bye.